Welcome back. We want to head to Wall Street now. Stocks up at open this morning. Now, there is new unemployment numbers out. Look at this. The Labor Department reports first-time jobless claims hit 6.6 million for the week that ended on April 4th. Joining us to discuss, Michael Lee and founder at Michael Lee Strategy, and Mattie Duppler, senior fellow at the National Taxpayers Union. Great to see both of you this morning. Guys, let's talk about this. 6.6 million Americans filing for unemployment this morning. Mike, was this more than we expected?
Yes, the expectations were about 5 million. And as we discussed a little bit earlier, we were at approximately 7.5 million 2 weeks ago with the upward revisions, 6.6 last week, and then slightly less this week. So all in about 20 million jobs in the last 3 weeks. This is going to cause a lot of devastation. This is going to take a lot of time to put the pieces back together for the economy. The reason why you're seeing stocks rally so much is because of the actions of the Federal Reserve, basically just throwing everything they can at the capital markets to ensure that the health problem that's become an economic problem does not become a liquidity problem and then a solvency problem for the entire nation. So
you're saying that the markets would have seen this coming, at least in this week's predictions, Mike?
You know, I don't think the market would be up over 2% right now without the news from the Federal Reserve. I think a 5 million or roughly that number was baked into the equation. I do not think anyone saw the revisions from 2 weeks ago, up over 4.4 million from the, so 3.3 up to 7.4. That's a monster revision from a couple weeks ago. So I think mass unemployment is expected. I think we're going to get I think the market's probably predicting 13 or 14% unemployment. But we'll only find out those numbers over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it seems like it's on track to continue to climb, at least in the next few weeks. Mattie, I want to get your take on this. Listen to what President Trump had to say about reopening the economy. Listen here.
Well, I think we can say that we have to be on that downside of that slope and heading to a very strong direction that this thing is gone. Now, we could do it in phases. We can go to some areas, which some areas are much less affected than others. But it would be nice to be able to open with a big bang.
Okay, so the president not laying out exactly when we might be seeing the economy reopening, but his chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, mentioned the idea of getting back to work in about 4 to 8 weeks. Mattie, do you see this as being possible?
You've got the president, you've got his medical advisors, such as Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, you've got the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jay Powell, all saying the same thing. This is a public health crisis. The economic consequences can be very disruptive, but first and foremost, we need to get a handle on the public health challenges before we can confront the economic disruption that has resulted from the pandemic. So I think that the president is correct in saying that we need to be studying carefully the data and know exactly what's happening within the public health before we can talk about how we recover economically. Now, I do think within 4 to 8 weeks, we can certainly look at those measures that need to be taken. I would like to see the government talk to small businesses in particular and give them counsel on how to reopen. It's obvious that small businesses won't be able to reopen at the rate that they thought that they'd be doing business at absent the crisis. So they need counseling on how they manage inventory, how they get their employees back online, how they run their businesses without the 100% consumer base they were expecting at this point in the year. It's certainly possible, but that kind of counsel, I think, could go a long way towards aiding the recovery and making sure we get the economy back online quickly.
Hey, that sounds like some great advice that a lot of people could use right now. We know that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is seeking to bring forth a fourth coronavirus relief bill to the floor by the end of the month. The ink is barely dry on, of course, the $2 trillion stimulus package. But Mattie, what are your thoughts on potentially, again, a phase 4 situation to try to help out these small businesses?
Well, the Republican leader in the United States Senate this morning was going to put forward a package that would increase the amount of money for the PPP loans in that CARES package. That just failed on the Senate floor. So that means Democrats are serious about trying to load up a phase 4 bill with other political items that they would like to see accomplished. Now, the Fed actions that Mike mentioned earlier, I think, might obviate some of the Democratic concerns. Democrats have been talking about funds for states. Fed just announced it's going to be doing a huge debt buying program for state and localities. So we'll have to see what the interchange is here between fiscal and monetary policy. Congress certainly needs to not drag its feet and offer whatever aid it can, particularly to those small businesses who need support at this time when their consumer base has dried up.
All right, Mattie Duppler, thank you for your insight there, and great speaking with you.
Thank you.
Mike, your response to that as well? Are we waiting for this phase 4? Is that going to help out?
You know, I think if this SBA, if this PPP Paycheck Protection Program gets depleted rather quickly, I think they'll find a way to get more money into it. But this economy has to open up. All the models for the health crisis have been horribly wrong. I think you have a lot of, I think Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci continually move the goalpost and have no real comprehension the damage that they're causing to America right now with their recommendations. I think the president should push as fast as he can to get this economy open. Otherwise, we're going to enter another depression. We can't sustain 5 to 10 million job losses per week in perpetuity. So this has to stop. The economy has to get open, and it's got to get open sooner rather than later.
All right. We hope it does so soon and safely. That's Michael Lee. He's the founder at Michael Lee Strategy. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Still ahead, the New York Yankees